Hello. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. For the main part, for the tarot part, I'm going to use the Astro Matrix tarot. The website on the back here, there's verbiage there, but the website's at the bottom, astromatrix.org, I believe. They're at the bottom. There's also the artists, the creator, and the QR code. Thank you for the people who put that in the comments last week because I could not remember the name of that, but here's the QR code for this one if you're interested. The Oracle cards. You Are Clairvoyant Oracle cards by Belinda Grace. Illustrations by Elaine Marzin. Website rockpoolpublishing.com.au. A as an apple, U as an umbrella. And I also use dice. I use a 21-sided for the major arcana, which does omit 0, but I make it work. I believe it came from this place, the dice shop. And if I can get it close enough, you can see mathartstuff.com. Mathartfun.com. Hopefully you can see that if you're interested. The smaller dice, I have a 14-sided dice that I use for the minor arcana, and I use a 4-sided dice to choose the suit. That's from here, Tom Anders. There is some information there. Hopefully I can get it close enough so it'll focus and you can see it if you're interested. I want to say there's like a website there, but I can't see it. This one also has a QR code. Here's the QR code for that one, if I can hold it still. All right, that's what we have for the materials. Of course, if you'd like a reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Hello, Cancer. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. These readings are valid whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Cancer? Oh, that's pretty. There's an upside down card, which is fine. I'm just, how did you get there? Not in this. Upside down cards aren't good nor bad. They're just what they are. Another one. Okay. No, they're not bad. So, you do have a few upside down cards popping in. Let's put it all together and see what it means, though. All right, so how did this situation start? I feel like a good place to start. How did you even end up in this situation? Whatever it was. Was it by choice or was it by necessity? I was like, where? Okay, the world. I'm laughing because the world is backing up the death card. And the Knight of Swords, which you also have the Knight of Swords down here. I do feel like you chose to be a part of this, which I feel like some of you might cringe at that. Like, did I really, though? It almost reminds me of, like, for example, if you have a relative or a friend, could be a relative, friend, some type of connection that's important to you, and they got into a relationship, or they had somebody entered into their life. Doesn't have to be like a romantic relationship. Could have been like somebody that they were hanging out with a lot more, or maybe they had a child, something like that, where they added into this situation. The person you connected added another person one way or another. Could have been like a spouse, could have been a friendship, could have been literally they had a child. And when that happened, you seem to have had to, I feel like you didn't have to, but you did. I don't know how to explain this. It's like you needed to be involved, but it's kind of like at the same time, like, oh, do I really want to be? It was just one of those things. And when this person entered the situation, it seemed like you realized, or maybe now you're realizing, that this was going to be a long-haul connection. This person wasn't going to go anywhere. And they have been around for quite a while. I'm not saying you liked it, but it was kind of like, it's there, and the connection I have with the person I already care about, I don't want to get damaged, so I'm rolling with it. Some of you, I feel like, kind of tip over into the tolerating. Others of you are kind of like, I'm going to try to make the best of it. Even others beyond there is kind of like, I don't like it, but I need to make it work. Something. There's a few different versions of what's going on here, but I feel like when it started, I just kind of like accepted it. Kind of like, all right, this is how this is going to be. Even if it was like they brought a child in for whatever reason, it maybe for some reason it became more of a stress. It was stressful for you for whatever reason. I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. You do what you have to do. That's not too much of a mystery, is it? You do what you have to do. I feel like you're playing mediator a lot with this situation. Take that with a grain of salt, but I keep feeling like it may not be like getting between two people fighting. It might be more like, I know this will cause a problem. So I'm just going to clean it up, or I'm just going to fix it, or I'm just going to kind of circumnavigate it. Before this is an issue, I'm going to try to help it not be an issue. I feel like that happens a lot, and it's kind of like, I feel like I'm constantly putting out fires. I feel like I'm constantly doing that. It's kind of like, if you just let a little fire go, it can easily become a big fire in 2 seconds. So it's kind of like, no, I'm going to shut that down. And I feel like you're constantly putting out fires. It seems like this is what I have to do. And the current energy is kind of like, do I like that I have to do this? I wouldn't say I like it. But do I feel like it's better that I'm able to do it? I'm thankful that I'm able to do it, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm in a position where, do I like that I have to do this? No. But am I thankful that I'm able to? Like, I can have this effect. I can put out these fires so that nothing gets very devastating. I'm thankful I can, but it's not like I'm happy that I can, if that makes sense. It's like, I wish this was a situation that didn't have all these fires. Like, if that makes sense. But the fact that they're going to be there anyway and I'm able to put them out, I'm happy that at least I'm able to put them out. So there's that. Things are starting to develop in a new direction at this point. When this reading clicks in, it should be at that point where things are starting to develop in a different direction. Can we get more about what that means? Whatever it is, you've been handling it fairly well. Fairly well. I mean, I feel like it's quite the situation, so it's not the easiest thing. It's not a novice situation. Like, you know what you're doing. You clearly have to be successful at this point. The line is breaking. The Wheel of Fortune is not really going in the best direction. Ace of Pentacles is showing up to your favor. Things are changing slowly, though. This is a slow change situation. This could be very pleasant. Long-term pleasant for you. Long-term. The Wheel of Fortune turning in a direction that's not that favorable. I understand that you wouldn't enjoy that. But it's kind of like the car no longer works, so now we have to find a different way. We have to at least find another mode of transportation. It's kind of like, oh, I don't like that it doesn't work anymore. I don't like the cost and all the other stuff. But it's opening a door to get something different, to create a new situation. It's a slow change, though, definitely, whatever this is. And I feel like this is a vote of confidence, kind of like this is more of a time for you to kind of direct the energy. I feel like your first instinct may be like, all right, let's see what they're going to do with this. But they're saying this can go better if you kind of give direction. You know what to do. You seem to be on the ball with it. There's like this intuitive nudge. I feel like for a lot of you, there's probably this intuitive nudge, kind of like, I know what they want to do, but I feel like if they do this, maybe if I just put my 2 cents in very humbly, in a very humble way. Humbly? Sure, why not? Very humbly. Humbly's a word, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Because I feel like maybe your first gut reaction might be to not step forward and to not give advice. whether you do or don't, it does hit this stagnant part. This is that upside down card, one of them. I'm like, oh, there's a couple, which is fine, but there's like, something should be happening, but nothing is happening. And the advice is to not wait. To not wait and just be like, all right, it's their business, their deal, their ball of wax. Let's see what they do with it. I guess we'll just wait until they figure it out. It doesn't, the situation does not thrive in a direction that's really serving you or the situation itself. It's better for you, definitely better for you, and for the people involved if you kind of give your 2 cents, whatever your 2 cents contains. Because what I'm getting is like, I feel like you're giving options, you're giving positive connections. You know how to speak to these people. You know how to do it without causing disruption. It's going to take some thought on their side, but I'm getting the Lover's card, like you're giving information that's really coming from a good place, and the people you're talking to know that. I don't feel like you're being pushy. You're just saying this might be an option, or you might even be giving more than one with the Lover's card. It does talk about Gemini energy sometimes. It doesn't have to mean you're dealing with a Gemini, but it's kind of like giving more than one option, giving a few options, giving it with care, showing like what could happen here, and like the situation needing some more detailed thought to get through it to the next side of the progress here. The way you see it does offer a lot of blessings. It gives people a chance to do things differently. In this situation, it's kind of like you're not the only one who's having some difficulty with it. And the fact that you're giving these options is also, it's almost like giving somebody else permission to do something differently. And some people get into this rut where they don't realize that they're still staying in this rut. And it's almost like when you give them a different way to do things, it's kind of like, oh, that's an option. Like, oh yeah, I should have thought of that. And you do seem to be offering change, or you want change in this situation. When you're more in control of the change, it's a lot more comfortable if there has to be change. And in this situation, I think you're okay with it. This is an oxymoron, this next part. Because it's fast and slow. 8 of Wands to me is speed, change, sometimes travel, could be travel. The Page of Pentacles, that doesn't usually move very fast. So the best I can describe this as, it's kind of like we're changing location but not behavior. Changing location but not behavior to start with. But with the page can change with direction. But it's going to be definitely slow change. It's going to be like, it's like taking a 12-year-old and teaching them how to sculpt with clay. And this is like a 12-year-old who's never touched clay before, doesn't have any idea how to do anything with it. So this is like taking somebody who has artistic talent but doesn't know anything about clay or how to mold things or how to put things together, and showing them like how shapes work, how shapes add up to a figure, how to like blend them together so they stay together, how to paint it and all the other good stuff, and go through the whole situation. How to get the structure in there, what to fill it with, what not to fill it with, going through the whole thing. But it takes time. It takes time, and a lot of it's going back and like seeing like where this went wrong and deconstructing things to reconstruct them. I feel like we're going to be moving ahead 3, back 2, 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 which is progress, but it can be frustrating. But if you see that that's how it's going to work, it's kind of like, it's probably better to say it in miles. If you need to, if you need to move 500 miles, and every day you move ahead 3, and the next day you move backwards 2, after a year you'll move forward, a good 300 miles. It'll take a couple of years to get there, but at least it'll get where you need it to go. And the whole thing with it is to realize that that's how this is going to be. Especially if there's a child involved, this is like a thing that it's going to be like, it's going to take a few years before this really flies the way you want it to. Then it can, but it's going to be ahead 3, back 2, ahead 3, back 2, ahead 3, back 2, which can be very, very, very frustrating. But if you keep centering on, oh, all right, in the last month we have moved 30 miles. And if we weren't doing this, we'd still be back at square one. And then after a couple seasons pass, you're like, oh wow, we've moved another 180 miles. So we're not quite halfway there yet, but we're a lot farther than we were. And if we hadn't done this, we'd still be back at square one. And if you keep looking at back in that context, I feel like that'll give you confidence and help you feel better about the whole situation, because there's constant step backs, the constant 2 steps back, 3 forward, but 2 back, and it can be very draining, and it's hard to not center on what's going wrong. It's hard, but if you keep reminding yourself and looking back, like, well, we have made it at this point almost 200 miles. We have to go 500, but at least we've gone at least 200. It's better than what it was. It's not perfect, but I'm not expecting perfection at this point. So it's seeing it in that context. People are going to want to give up on this situation because they're going to feel defeated, or that they don't have what's going on. Hopefully, if this reading hits correctly, hopefully, and this is like making sense to you, you can be that voice of reason to actually not only see it yourself, like, we've made it pretty far, we've done a lot, we're not at square one, we're 200 miles from a 500-mile goal. I know we're not halfway there yet, but we're getting there and we're making distance. Not only can you remind yourself of that, but you can point that out to other people and bring up their confidence and remind them, do not walk out on this, do not walk away from this, do not give up. The Sun card reverse is telling me that the situation is going well, but sometimes people have a hard time seeing the good that's actually there. And you can be that voice of reason down the line, kind of like, no, look, we were like way over there. We used to be way over there. We're 200 miles away from that spot. We have made progress. Yes, every day there's 2 steps backward, but there's also 3 steps forward. We are making progress. And you can be that voice of reason. The situation is not meant to fail, but it really depends on people staying engaged with it. There's a lot of help here. When they get the goddess energy here, trying to pull in a lot of energy, there's a lot of like spiritual support to get this to move forward, but free will is a real thing. If people want to give up, like, free will allow somebody to do that. You having this connection, you hopefully seeing this, can empower you, but you can also empower others with that same viewpoint. So hopefully that works to your benefit. Are we good? I think we're done. All right, I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.